I'm resident of Collinwood for YouTube. Joel Sains. It's my buddy Patrick McCray. It's my buddy Gordon Dymowski. We're here to talk about Lookwell, which was a series. Well, not a series, but one episode pilot, sort of like the way 2004 unaired pilot of Dark Shadows. This, though, starred Adam West. It was more of a comedy than a drama. Very, very funny. I watched this on YouTube.
Joel. Let me stop you right there.
It
Look what was
begins.
an intentional comedy.
Well, yeah, look what was an intentional comedy. It's very funny. Just the lines and stuff. Adam West, very goofy, very. I always knew Adam West could be funny, but just this one episode, guys, he's going. It's I found it interesting when he got into voiceover work because I know he did work for the Batman animated series as the Gray Ghost. But when he did Family Guy, I was sort of shocked. I'm like, Adam West doing Family Guy?
Well, didn't he do a whole Batman animated series in the 70s?
Yeah, he did one in 70, The New Adventures of Batman, 77, because it was with Burt Ward and Batmite. And for those of you who don't know, think of Batmite as like Mr. the Mr. Mxyzptlk from Superman, only in a Batman costume and annoying. And if you want to make an analogy to anyone in this podcast, I wouldn't blame you because there's at least one person in this podcast who's probably that obnoxious. I think we all know who it is.
Oh, God. So I have a question for you guys. When did you first see Lookwell? I know when I first saw it.
Gordon?
Well, I actually first caught it a couple of years ago. It was one of those, I was doing what I usually do is trolling the internet in lieu of research for work. And I came upon Lookwell and I watched it. And so I knew, it was kind of and this would have been about the early 2000s where it was starting to get a little bit of a reputation. And then the second time I watched it was about 45 minutes ago when Patrick texted me and said, "Hey, do you want to discuss Lookwell?" So here we are, and it's just wall to wall. It's Adam West doing what Adam West does best, is hitting the right tone where he's in on the joke and he's setting himself up, but it's not too much.
There's with total sincerity.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I saw this probably around 2004, 2005. There had been a TV special back when networks still had TV specials that was all about failed TV pilots. And you can still find it occasionally. And it's the best, densest collection possible. And it had footage from Lookwell on it. Well, it didn't take long to poke around YouTube and find that the whole pilot had been uploaded. There was really a couple of glorious summers that I remember. One was 1988, and one I think was 1991. And those were years where there was a writer's strike. And I love writer's strikes because the writer's strike lasted so long in that case, unlike I guess this past one, that the networks had to start just airing old pilots that they weren't going to actually turn into series. So I got to see the Remo Williams pilot, and it's how I got to see this. It had been uploaded during that and passed around, and I was amazed. It was probably the bestest, densest half hour of TV ever. For me, it's the most fanciful and entertaining pilot I've ever seen. It's one of those things that felt like it had been written just for me because it had my sensibility in a lot of places, including the type of show that it was satirizing. And a lot of other stuff. It is very Conan O'Brien in the best sense. You can hear his wording all over the place. Worthy observation, Ben. And the working class mind is strange and unpredictable. Just kind of parodies of things I'm sure he heard in all seriousness while at Harvard. And of course, Adam West and Turtlenecks and Happy Days, The Next Generation, and it goes on and on. And he had done it with Robert Smigel for Lorne Michaels. I mean, just these giants. And Adam West later, and I think Conan O'Brien both said they're kind of glad that it didn't go to a series because they used every single good idea they had to make it. That they just made it as dense as possible. And I don't want to say so they never could have turned it into a series. I can't imagine what that would have been like. I'm sure it would have been great. It would have been great in some direction I can't predict. But it was far more than the Star Trek pilot, which I think there's another story behind. Really too smart for network TV. It, especially in 1991. But, at the same time, I think of, I was about to say we weren't sophisticated enough. Maybe we were more sophisticated. I mean, Get a Life ran for 2 full seasons and was eye-poppingly brilliant. So that was going on back then. Herman's Head and shows like that were right around the corner. So it was actually a pretty cool era.
Yeah, and I think that I'd like to think that was the result of the strike, where, I mean, the strike, one of the big shows that came out was that Mission Impossible was revived for
the 88
ABC
strike. Yeah.
Because I think originally it was, I think it was supposed to be just a straightforward, like, Australian version. They had Peter Graves going to recast the same roles from the 60s, but with different actors. And ABC was like, oh, wait, we don't have any programming. So they pumped in a bunch of money. I think they ended up reusing only like 7 of the original series scripts before the strike ended. And so they just went in with, let's just do it with new roles. It's where Phil Morris got his professional debut, playing a character that his father originally played in the 60s. And I think what happened was, after that strike, I mean, I think that's why we got Dark Shadows in 1991, because it was like, that was a project in process. And I think it was kind of like, okay, well, we're still recovering. What can we have that's familiar? But you also have these like great little, let's take a chance and do something like Get a Life, which I think that's how Lookwell would have proceeded had it come to series, like, except it's cop show plots. It's like, it also have a little bit of Sledgehammer, which came a year or two before the strike.
Yeah.
So I think it would have been this really interesting convergence. But we have a great half hour of television, and I think we can't sneeze at that.
But before we get back to Lookwell, then there's another series I want to ask you about. There's a few years before that, but I think was just very misunderstood, and that was Misfits of Science. What'd you think of that?
I saw it when I was a kid, and it's to me, it was a kid. I enjoyed it. Yeah. And if I were to watch it now, I'm not sure I would enjoy it. But the difference is I'm a much older person, so I don't think it's. I think I aged out of that demographic.
I don't know if it was a kid show, although it had some very kid attractive elements. Although I can see where you get that conclusion. I always thought of it as the closest that network TV could come to Buckaroo Banzai. And that very, I hate this word, quirky sensibility. One of the things I like about the history of that show, Jewel, have you ever seen that show, Misfits of Science?
Nope.
Oh, you would have a lot of fun with it. Brandon Tartikoff apparently really carried its flag, and he kept saying, I don't care if it has low ratings. I'm going to keep this thing on the air as long as I can. And he did. I mean, it wasn't that it was a half season or something, but I think that was more than it would have gotten otherwise. But back to Lookwell, what a gem. And for me, I love how it parodies acting teaching, which is a very obscure thing. But for years in the San Diego Reader, which I wasn't familiar with the idea of free local paper. So I kept wondering, what the hell is this? All these, classified ads and things. But in the San Diego Reader, there were these ads for Gordon Jump's acting school. And I was being a little snobby at the time. I thought, oh, who would want to take acting from that guy? Well, he only had a successful career. But I think probably things like that, you saw a lot of things like that in LA. Relatively obscure character actors and so on running their own acting schools forever. I'm sure they're still out there. On a successful level, I know Jeff Goldblum did it for a long time. But that had to be the inspiration for Ty Lookwell's acting academy.
If this thing had been made in the 80s during the Police Academy movie runs, it might have saw a life. I mean,
well, funny you should mention that. Adam West starred in basically a Police Academy ripoff TV series called The Last Precinct in the 80s.
Mm-hmm. Cool. I didn't know that.
What were you going to say?
I was about to say, I'm not sure. I think Lookwell has that very unique kind of insidery vibe. I'm not sure how it would have played in the 80s, especially. But since Adam West was in The Last Precinct, we really don't have to worry about it. But that's being nitpicky.
Yeah, in the 80s, I think you could have pulled it off after the new show came out. The new show, even though it ran very briefly, captured that very kind of Memphis school architecture style of comedy that, I think Late Night with David Letterman cemented. And by the mid 80s was a very, very, very distinct, honestly, countercultural voice. Mm-hmm. So maybe we had just enough irony about entertainment from that era, from that very, avocado appliance era that Lookwell's talking about.
Mm-hmm.
One second. Yes.
So, Jewel, what did you think of Lookwell?
I thought it was funny. So
that's its job.
No, here's the thing: like comedy. Like I've seen all the Police Academy movies, and those are movies that sort of know they're making fun of themselves too, in a sense. Then you see, the Naked Gun movies, and then there's this, which knows it's making fun of itself as well. It's hilarious. It's funny. I mean, but what Adam West was doing, I'm thinking there's nobody that's this much of a jackass, but that's what it's supposed to do. Sorry, good.
No, keep going.
I do think when it comes to television, especially, you can't really. There's no way you can predict what's going to happen from a pickup standpoint or a product. Like your series, is it going to get picked up? You don't know. Then when it doesn't, or when it doesn't succeed, it's really strange because I was listening to a story on Bruce Pritchard's podcast about wrestling, about how he was talking about when they turned Sergeant Slaughter heel. And he said this was at the time, this was before the Kuwait-Iraqi war. And they turned him into a guy who sympathized for that. And they didn't think it would actually happen. They think, oh, we're not going to go to war. And the moment they turn him heel and have him come out in the colors and wave the flag, and Bruce Pritchard said he looked at Vince McMahon and said, hey, he goes, well, what do we do? He goes, well, we're already committed to the character. What are we supposed to do? So it's like, and Slaughter said he was getting death threats. Like, but I just think that kind of unpredictability sort of leads you to why series make it or why series don't. Like, look at the 91 Dark Shadows Revival. The Iraqi war, that war affected that show in every way.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, I do think that I found this funny. Again, let's look at a show that wasn't on cable that didn't get re-picked up that should have. I think it was Archive 81 that was on Netflix. That show was great.
God, that was so good.
Right.
But that was a show. I'm kind of glad it didn't get picked up because I didn't know it was supposed to have a second season. I thought it just had a weird downer ending. It was very Rod Serling-esque. Gordon, did you see Archive 81?
No, I did not.
Oh, Gordon, I'll tell you what, I would have such fun if you watch the first couple episodes, because it takes a couple episodes to get into. Watch the first couple of episodes and wanted to talk about this for what is Lovecraftian as hell, in a way that I at least have never seen done. And it knows how to work a cliffhanger like nobody's business. I mean, first episode was kind of weird. I didn't know what was going on. By the second episode, I couldn't help but be propelled into one after another after another. It wasn't like Lost with just sort of a cheap little hook. I mean, this was major plot events that just compelled you to watch the next episode. It's well made. It's so well acted.
It's very reminiscent of the original Dark Shadows, where the pacing is very methodical, and it's really well done. I mean, by the way, not only well written, but well acted. The main character you feel sorry for.
Yeah.
He has you. I mean, the writers have you with this show. If nobody's seen it, go check it out. It's worth a watch. But
this is I'm sorry, Jewel, this is one of those crews that if they were doing a new Dark Shadows, you would just go, oh well, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they would get it, because they did a show that was really similar to DS in a lot of ways. Just the look, the feel of it, the way it was acted, the way it was written. And this show here, the one we're talking about, Lookwell, is really it's funny. I like the car chase sequences. Everything I saw in this was just humor galore. So comedy and horror are similar in this way. It's all about timing.
Yes, it is.
And this show nails its timing in every way.
It's about suspense and reversal of expectation every time. Yeah. And both involve fear of something terrible happening. It's just in comedy, it goes in a different direction. But God said, follow me, I'm an actor. If you need me, here's my headshot. This was given to me in an official ceremony in Television City. Bob Conrad might not take his honorary Crime Busters badge seriously, but I do. It's just one after, and maybe the greatest line in the episode that sums it all up, which is where he's being flummoxed by a flunky cop at a desk who won't let him back, and finally his official advice. Maybe we should talk about what the pilot was about. His technical advisor from his TV series kind of walks in and says, it's okay, he can come back with me. And Ty Lookwell, in victory, looks at the cop and says, perhaps if you watched a little more television, you'd be better at your job, which is a line I have used time and again and have been taken seriously when I have, which is great. That, my other favorite line in it, and just remember, I have a lot of free time. What a threat. What a wonderful threat. So, Jewel, can you clue us in as to the plot of this for people who haven't seen
it? Yeah. The plot of this, for people who haven't seen it, a washed-up TV action hero who, at the peak of his career, was ceremoniously deputized by local law enforcement, falsely believes he can solve crimes in real life. His student, Jason, played by Todd Field, becomes his sidekick.
Okay, Joel. Now summarize the plot without reading it from Wikipedia.
Well, I'm reading. By the way, production development. The plot was filmed as a single camera comedy, which was uncommon for the time it was being developed. Writer Robert Smigel, later expressed doubt that the project could sustain itself as a full-fledged television series, questioning if viewers would really want to view that every week. I'm not so sure they would have. I guess
the producer of this is I think the real hero. And Lauren Michaels. And I think Lorne Michaels knew television well enough to know goddamn well this wasn't going to sell. But he had the money and the clout to basically allow him to force NBC to film essentially a very long, very elaborate Saturday Night Live skit. Because he could.
Well, another series that was sort of I thought was prematurely canceled because I watched it when it aired, was Legend with Richard Dean Anderson. I enjoyed that because it was something so different than what he had just played. And John D. Lance is the scientist who comes up with shit, the inventor. It was hilarious. And it's funny, Richard Dean Anderson, when he's asked, which of the characters are you most like? He said, who remembers Legend? And some people, he goes, that's the character I'm most like. Oh, shit. But this is a fun watch. Like, I do wish, I know they said they knew it wouldn't succeed, but I'd like to think they would have came up with more material for it if it would have gotten picked up.
And it would have been really weird because the format probably would have run dry relatively quickly, and it would have gone in, I think, very strange directions.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think it had been sort of Prisoner-esque in a way?
No.
No, but no. I love the idea. I mean,
I think what would have happened is I think it would have gone the way that Get a Life did, which is the first season, a hypothetical first season would have been every cop show cliche, stolen cars, drug running. I mean, could you imagine Adam West dressed like a 1970s pimp walking down? How would you like some heroin, good sir? And I think it would have done that. And then I think the second, maybe they would have had him doing crimes at solving crimes at like a studio. So he thinks he's James Hutton and Ellery Queen, and at some point he'd turn to the camera and say, "Can you figure out what the solution is at home?" And everyone would be looking at him like, "Who are you talking to?"
I think he would have gone to London and dealt with very harsh conditions, South London crime.
Your stalker in he would have done a Sherlock Holmes thing.
Would I be out of line that say this little one episode probably inspired a little show called Psych in a weird way?
I never saw Psych, so
it's about a guy who has fake psychic powers and he convinces.
It's actually I don't see it because Psych is about a guy he and his buddy live, I think it's like Florida or California, but he has really acute observational skills and he wants to be a detective. But what he does is he's so observant when he works for the police, he pretends to be a psychic. So he might look and say like he might see like some crumbs on someone's lapel and maybe a little red spot on a collar and say, "Let me guess, you had a pizza within the last 3 hours, didn't you?" And they go, "Whoa, yes, what happened?" He's got a buddy and they get into trouble and I know it's streaming via Peacock. I'm not sure if but it is think of it as the ultimate parody of the CSI style procedural.
Yeah, in a lot of ways. But this would have been funny to me, like to watch as a series. But I mean,
you would have made a great character on this as one of Ty Lookwell's students.
I'm no actor. I learned that.
That's the beauty of it. I didn't say you. You would have made a good character. Character based on you. Your wife encouraged you to take acting lessons after the kids have gone to college. And this sort of a washed up has-been shows up in Pennsylvania. And you show up and you're his only student.
Yeah, and Adam West, as Ty Lookwell says, Jewel, when you are playing Stanley Kowalski in Streetcar Named Desire, You need to express his primal urge. And the best way to express that primal urge is to one, wear a tank top and yell Stella at the top of your lungs. You are expressing the primordial id of every human being, Jewel. You can do it. Go.
The ongoing gag would have been endless attempts to mount a production of Sleuth with Jewel and Ty Lookwell, but Ty would insist on playing the Michael Caine part. So Jewel, you would be valiantly attempting to be the Laurence Olivier character.
Well,
And that'd be very endearing. That'd be very entertaining.
Mm-hmm.
I'd watch the hell out of that show.
When I was in elementary school, we did stage plays. Our history teacher did stage plays, and the only part I was good enough to play was if there was a drunk in the play, I would play it because number one, I knew how to slur my words, and two, I knew how to fall forward without hurting myself because I saw Ric Flair do it enough times. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, Jewel, I'm gonna tune up that story. You gotta start saying that you played Caligula really well, and so no matter what the history play was, the teacher felt obligated to engage you in the class. To write in a part for Caligula, no matter like a Thanksgiving pageant or whatever, Caligula shows up.
Yeah, even if it's just Caligula saying, "Hey, look, I just made a horse a senator. I'm wacky. I've been hanging out with my sister a lot."
We didn't do necessarily historical plays.
He's a history teacher.
Yeah, he taught history, but we didn't do historical plays.
Well, you would have forced it as Caligula. And you would be too. This is the funny part. The history teacher would have been the weirdo because you'd be too young to know who Caligula was. And it would have been like this thing where the Caesars were mentioned, and you had 12 different kids come out as the first 12 Caesars. And I'm Tiberius, and I'm Caligula. And so he would have just kept writing these weird parts in as Caligula for you, with you having no idea. And then at some point, you get you're at church camp, and you mention how you played Caligula, and you have a copy of the videotape of the movie from your mom's store, so that everyone can appreciate, say, the real Caligula, and then you put that on. Gordon loves this. This is a very funny.
I think it's brilliant.
It's comedy gold. And a 10-year-old Jules Sains, and you're Harv. You don't even know what you're seeing. Tino Brass's Caligula rolling before you, and they attempt an exorcism or something, and there's like bringing a snake handler to try and cure you. You're in the little cabin, and you're immune to the snake venom because you've grown up, in the city and probably, near a nuclear power plant or something, and the weird stuff that the strange tang, the strange military grade leftover tang that your mother found in the back of the video store. She tried to get you not to drink, and you just love it. So despite her, you keep drinking this weird tang, which has made you immune. It explains your size in every sense, and it's made you immune to all these things. So they keep so now they think you're some weird backwoods messiah, the second coming, and they don't know whether or not they should kill you or elevate you as some sort of bizarre god. And so then it turns into this parody of Hereditary.
Oh my God.
It's somewhere between the Hereditary, the Wicker Man, and Ernest Goes to Camp. It's one with Jesus Camp thrown in, and a little bit of Carrie with. And so then your mother, Jewel, your mother has to go turn into this total commando to rescue you. And your mom has the nitroglycerin tipped arrows from Dukes of Hazzard and so on and so forth, and then it becomes this great mom empowerment movie as she breaks you out. This is it, because your mom's cool. You talked about this. Gosh darn it, that's a story I want to see.
Oh my god! Oh my god! I want to thank my mom for letting me do chores. But anyway,
That's how you found that nuclear tang. It was the pink. It was the pink tang. It went by the off-brand name Poon. Anyway.
oh my
Yeah, it was the one that gave your mouth a healthy glow and left those weird sores on your lip.
god! Oh my god! Love of Christ! Anyway, so
I really love this. I really love this idea.
oh my god! So guys, Adam West's career. I mean, he's known for Batman, obviously.
I love how quickly he pivots.
Yeah, we're pivoting.
Hey, you can always rely on Joel to bring it back home.
Yeah, I'm trying here. I don't think I'll succeed.
Yeah, and for the record, Jewel, Adam West never played Caligula.
The young Joel Sane was a hell of a Caligula.
Oh my god!
His rival was a fat kid who excelled at Nero. And so then they would always go out for the same parts in school plays, but one always playing it as Caligula, one always playing it as Nero. And the fat kid was like Francis from Pee-wee's Big Adventure, but with the violin. He's always insisting on a violin solo.
So Adam West's career, he played Batman in the '60s. Obviously, everybody knows. What's something you guys would have loved to have seen Adam West do or in?
Punch William Shatner in the face.
A fight between Shat and Adam. I would honestly, just out of curiosity, James Bond. He was up for James Bond very seriously during the Honor Majesty's Secret Service search, and I think they just about went with him, but the Batman at that point was too big, and they just thought, even though Adam West would have taken the part seriously, people wouldn't have taken Adam West seriously in the part.
Yeah.
I would have loved to have seen Adam West in some kind of comedy film going up against John Cleese, because they both tend to have that very controlled. But with Cleese, you can tell he's kind of he goes up and gets angrier. And I could see Adam just doing that very dry, casual kind of, and giving him very vicious put downs that he just absolutely sells.
He would have made a good American rival for a John Cleese character.
He wasn't in the movie, but I wish he would have been, considering how funny he was in it. I wish he'd have been in the first scary movie that the Wayans brothers did, because that's just pure comedy mixed with horror.
Say, Adam West, even though he largely just played Adam West, honestly made any project he was in better. He really did. You always got happy. You're like Carl Weathers in that sense. You always got happy when you saw his name in the credits, and you always knew you were going to have a better time because Adam West was in something.
Yeah, he's fun to watch. I remember watching the '60s Batman and reruns in the late '80s on television. Just and he voiced the Great Ghost in the '90s. There are actors who are just really underrated. I would consider him as such. What would you guys say?
I don't know how much I can go there.
Yeah.
In terms of, Adam West could have done a lot more than he did. I don't know, because he didn't really get the chance to show a lot of that. Unlike Leslie Nielsen, you see in Creep Show and in other films, Forbidden Planet, where you do get a good look at his dramatic acting. Adam West, less of that. Oh, you can see Happy Ogre Goes to Hollywood. He's in that. I don't know if he's an underrated actor, but I think he is overall underrated as far as his contributions comedically.
Yeah, I think in the kind of, I'd say the last maybe 2 last 1 or 2 decades of his career, he kind of realized that his skill was hitting that tone that he had on Batman, where you know that he's in on the joke. He can play the line straight, but give it that humor. And sometimes
I'm sorry, Gordon, go on.
I was to say, and that, he may not have been it would be nice to have seen Adam West as Hamlet or Adam West as James Bond. But I think the fact that he knew that, was comfortable with it, and could take it and could run with it in terms of voiceover work and, Lookwell and these kind of different roles, I think that speaks well to who he was as a talent. Because let's not forget, this is a guy who made his debut in a Three Stooges film.
Was it Ghost of Mars?
I think it was The Outlaws is Coming.
Okay.
Oh.
I was gonna say, Adam West, had he lived just a little longer, he would have wound up in an interesting and quasi-dramatic part on Orville. Because he was friends with Seth MacFarlane. Seth MacFarlane got him.
Mm-hmm.
He was of that generation. He's a little younger than Conan O'Brien, but they grew up in a time where they got Adam West. They got what he was capable of, and they got what he was doing, and used him really well. I mean, MacFarlane had to sort of cast him as Adam West, but at least it was a part, and it was a fun part that sort of let him do his thing. I think Orville was just, I think, as much of a love letter as he could do to as many interesting genre things as possible. I think it would have shown up on that. Mm-hmm. MacFarlane's an interesting guy because I know, some of his humor was very controversial and considered anti-trans, and among other things. And so I know a contingent of people who refuse to watch Orville as a result of that. They, and I think then they doubled down on how great Star Trek Discovery was, just to kind of, and partially I think to stick it to Orville. As a side note, the interesting thing with Orville is that, and I'm no expert, but it did one of the most interesting on-running transpolitic level storylines I've ever seen. I think very, very sympathetically, without shying away from a lot of the complexities of gender and culture with that, with the Mocklins. And I mean, and it got very serious. I mean, it was more than just Bortus and his husband are having a baby kind of thing. It really looked at some challenging material.
Well, I think what was good about it, I think moving away from Fox helped because, I liked the first season of Orville. I really didn't care for because it seemed like the comedy seemed ill-fitting. The second season, you could kind of see where okay, now we kind of know what we can't do, so let's work on what we can do. And the third season, because that was the first season, I think they're on Hulu or Disney Plus or
only one. Yeah, it was the Hulu season.
Yeah, Hulu. They went, they got strong. They got really strong, really fast. And I think, in terms of Family Guy, because I actually love Family Guy. I know some of you looking at me can't believe it. Expecting to go, hey, it's offensive. But let me compare Family Guy to South Park. Both started out as being very much, I would say, very disruptive, to use a word. Their humor was they were seen as offensive, and their humor was seen as a little bit edgy. I think the difference is the South Park guys, after that one movie, started to take themselves seriously, but not the work seriously. And I think MacFarlane doesn't take himself seriously, but he takes the work seriously. Yeah. And I would say Family Guy has been on an upward slope, and I think South Park is, irrelevant. I'll just say, yeah, I could go further, but I don't want to get Jewel in trouble with YouTube.
I don't give a shit. Listen, you can say what you want on here, so don't hold back on my account.
Well, yeah, I just think it's really become two rich white dudes complaining about, oh, we can't say what we want because somebody will complain.
Yeah.
That's what it seems like to me. It's like wham. Whereas McCartman's just like, you know what, you do you. We'll have the argument later.
Okay, so here's my take on South Park. And it's been this way for the longest time. We're going to make fun of something we think deserves being made fun of. We're going to satirize it viciously. And then to chicken out and to save ourselves from too much prosecution, we're going to throw in just enough argument for the other side so that we technically don't get in trouble. And when people come after us, we can just say, well, the issue is far too complex to just be boiled down to this or that. It was not an attitude they had when they made the South Park movie, which did commit to a very strong and very engaging political stance. I think it did it quite well. But then you get around to Team America, and they can't figure out who they're making fun of. And it's like, I just want to sit those guys down to watch Dr. Strangelove about 38 times in a row and say, here's a satire that commits.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't care which side you commit to, but God damn it, commit to it.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I think too, to me, the program that's made the most excuses about why they're not is pro wrestling. I grew up. Listen, I started watching wrestling in the late '80s. Things changed in the '90s when the Monday Night Wars happened heavily. When Nitro was beating Raw for 83 weeks, and Eric Bischoff had turned things up and stuff. But by 2000, it all hit the wall, and not in a good way. And the excuse WWE gives, we have to cater to sponsorship. And I was talking to someone about this. I said, I want you to listen to me. I said, you know what wrestling's real sponsorship is? You're the one watching this product. Look, if you watch a soap opera, a daytime soap opera, what do they sell on that soap opera? Oh, drama, sex, violence. So do you see sponsors walking away from them? No, you don't. Because why? You're the audience. You're the real sponsorship. You're giving them the money when you watch. That's what wrestling should be. But it's not. It sucks.
That's true.
Yeah, you should. Yeah, you should. Rather than wrestling, you should take up chess. I think it's a much healthier, much more socially acceptable habit than pro wrestling. There, I said it.
Julie, you should take up Go. You will beat an AI in it.
No, you know what you need to take up? Some Hunt Showdown. That's what you need to take up.
You should take up golf, because that way, if somebody gets annoyed, you can just whack them in the bro basket with a golf club. Or do what Patrick Troughton, the second Doctor Who, would do when he missed a shot. He'd go off into the bushes and go pee.
I can't say what my wife said to me about when I went to watch golf, so I won't say it here.
There's a lot of mystery in that statement, Jewel.
My wife is very...
No, Jewel, trust me. Leave it alone at that.
Yeah. Let's move forward.
Yeah. So, guys, is there anything you want to add about Lookwell before we get on out here?
It's genius. It's free. It's on YouTube. Yeah. And if you like it, you can watch its lesser cousin, which is still pretty good, called Heat, Vision, and Jack.
Mm-hmm.
They make a good double feature. I would probably watch Heat, Vision, and Jack first, because Lookwell's the same kind of idea, but much better. But they're both good.
Mm-hmm. So, guys, what are you doing tomorrow night? Anything?
What do you want us to do?
I'd like us to cover a movie that started the found footage genre, The Blair Witch Project.
No, I do not like that movie. Nope.
Can't do it. Now, if you want to watch a movie that's about halfway there, and really predicted reality TV, which has a lot of crossovers. I'm happy to watch Real Life, directed by Albert Brooks, which is a genius film. Have you ever seen, Gordon? Have you ever seen it?
Nope.
Oh my God! Oh,
is that the movie where is that the movie where the guy he's rich and he becomes homeless or something?
No.
Okay.
No.
Wrong movie.
No.
Okay, wrong
Now, this
movie.
is Albert Brooks' first film, and it does have a slight Lorne Michaels connection because Albert Brooks' early movies were part of the first seasons of Saturday Night Live. And I mean 10, 20 years ahead of time, it predicts reality TV right on the nose.
I'll watch it. Where can I find it?
Gordon is doing the calculations now.
Yeah, you can find it. You can find it on YouTube. I'm trying to find a place where it's free because most of the places I can see it are all paid. Let's see. Yeah, it seems to be only available for rent, not buying.
Okay.
Hang on.
However,
let me check out one special resource.
it's BitTorrent.
Hang on. Yeah, no, it's not there either. Well, I don't know.
I have maybe another suggestion.
Okay.
We could just to change it up. It's available on Tubi. Remo Williams, The Adventure Begins.
Oh boy,
yeah, that is a good movie.
Let's go. Yeah, hell yeah, I have that thing memorized.
So tomorrow night, guys, is 10:30 good?
Yeah.
Okay. Tomorrow night,
I will be your pregnant yak.
Yep. And remember, since Patrick's memorized this movie, we're going to start the podcast with him doing every character and every line starting from the beginning, including beginning and end credits. You have to start with the MGM Lion's Roar.
No, that's later distributors. I think it started with the Orion. Orion.
We probably would have to check because I think it's because like MGM bought out Orion and I think Amazon bought out MGM. So
are you guys picking up Once Upon a Time in the West on 4K?
Yes.
Great movie. Shout out to Justin Beam. He's doing the stuff. So there. Links to Patrick McCray's Dark Shadows Daybook About is going to be in the description box. Links to Gordon Dymowski's Amazon page are going to be in the description box. Tomorrow night, Remo Williams, The Adventure Begins. Great movie. We'll see you guys tomorrow night. Have a good night, guys.
Good night, all.